Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Average Joe Dividends YouTube channel. This is portfolio update number 192. And since this is my Monday video, what I do is every Monday morning, I deposit $100 into my Average Joe Dividends taxable brokerage account over at M1 Finance. And we can see on the screen, that's what I'm showing you guys right now, and we can see the all-time performance of the portfolio. I started this portfolio back in 2017, September 20th to be exact, with about $100, and I've just contributed to this portfolio throughout the years. And right about here, I had some money to deploy. I had equity in a home I no longer own, and then I really juiced up the portfolio right about here in the fall of 2022. But I've been adding to it ever since. You can see even after I did that big deposit, I was still below 200,000, and now we're knocking on $300,000 for this portfolio. Let's look at the 1 month view, and we can see. Let's see if we've been up or down. We've been up 5%, so it's been a good month return with this portfolio. Let's go to the 1 year, and we can see where we're at with kind of the ups and downs of this portfolio. You can see we're at like an all-time high here, but we're at all-time highs right now at 285,000. But who knows where the portfolio could be going, though, because of the tariffs and other news. But look at where we were in April, where things are not looking great, about $40,000 down. And this can make some people a little bit shy to put money into their investments as you see them dropping. But for me, this was a buying opportunity. And what I do is I buy every single week. I buy twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, or when my two buys occur. So let's go into the activity log here in just a moment. And what I do is, like I said, the $100 gets deposited every Monday morning, and I have auto invest toggled. You can see that button right there. And what that means is the money where it goes is to the underweighted portions of the portfolio. And you can see I have the portfolio divided into 3 different slices. And if you're curious to see what's all in this portfolio, I'll leave a link below so you can see all the different companies and investments I have in this portfolio. And you can see here's the actual percentage and then my target, and I have set the target percentages, and you can see here what's overweighted, which is the ETFs portion, and the dividend portfolio that is underweighted by 0.6%. So $100 is going to go into that portion. And then you can see the 10 more dividends. I decided to add 10 more companies, but this portion, it is overweighted right now. So all the monies are going to go into this portion until the actual and target are the same. And then, or if the ETFs became underweighted, that's where the money would go to until it was evened out. So let's go into the activity log. We're going to see a few things that occurred. And on Saturday, I received 3 dividends, and it says the 6th, but there's a 1-day delay with dividend payouts with M1. Sometimes it pays it on the day, but most of the time the dividends I receive they have a 1-day delay to them. So I received these on Saturday morning. I received a $7.72 dividend from Southern, and then an $8.04 dividend from Yum, and then a $16.21 dividend from Amgen. So these 3 dividends are going to be reinvested back into those companies. But you can see here's the $100 deposit that I did. I actually did it last night, and I was just curious to see where it would go to. But of course it changes because when M1 does its buys, it's about 9 o'clock, and they just happen. That's when I just started doing to record the video, and I don't really know where it's going to go exactly because the market changes in the morning for a little bit. So there's about a half hour of trading, and then I find out what happens at 9 o'clock. So, but 3 of the buys again are going to be Amgen, Yum, and Southern are going to be dividend drips. So it looks like it went into 3 different companies, and we're going to see what those 6 buys were And we're going to see the fractional shares that were purchased as a result of the $100 deposit and these 3 dividend drips. And we're going to see what the future dividend income is going to be for those positions, as well as the monthly, quarterly, and annual dividends for the portfolio. And this dividend portfolio is about 15% of my current net worth. I'll show you the other 85% of my current net worth. So let's go ahead and we'll click on these 6 buys. And Yum Brands, this is a dividend drip, the $8.04. So this dividend drip bought 0.05592 of a share of Yum Brands. So a tiny fractional share was purchased of Yum Brands, but it will increase the next dividend for Yum. Again, that's a dividend drip. So with Vista, the 2818, this is part of the $100 that I deposited, and that bought 0.75563 of a share of a Vista, so 75% of a share of a Vista there. Then next up, Costco. Looks like most of the money went into Costco, so it's not going to really increase my dividends by a whole bunch, but Costco has been a good grower for me. It's had great stock appreciation, and then every 2-3 years, Costco pays a special dividend. So when that special dividend rolls around, Costco pays a decent dividend. But this 6332, that bought 0.06301 of a share of Costco. The next up, Amgen. This is another dividend drip. So this bought 0.05588 of a share of Amgen. So kind of similar to what Yum bought with its dividend drip. Then Southern, this is another dividend drip, 772. Bought 0.08803 of a share of Southern Company. And then the last buy here that was part of the $100 went into Kimberly-Clark, so 775. Bought 0.05793 of a share of Kimberly-Clark. So really just small fractional buys, with the exception of a Vista with that 0.75 of a share there. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go on over to my Google Docs spreadsheet where I track all the positions in the portfolio, and I can see the dividends in there as well, and I'll show you what is tracked there. And I'll leave a link below to this Google Docs spreadsheet. You're welcome to use it or just check it out and just see what is all in this portfolio as far as the shares and the dividends I'm receiving from each of these companies here. And what it tracks is it shows the company, the ticker symbol, the share price, and it's pulling that share price live with the Google Finance function. And then here's the average share price I've paid for each of these positions. And here's the total number of shares I own for each position. Here's the value if I were to sell the shares of Fifth Third. For example, here's the cost basis, how much I've paid for the shares in total. And then here's my gain or loss, and that is including the dividends that have been paid out. Here is my percent gain or loss. Anything above 25% will be in green. Here's the quarterly dividends. I have 2 monthly pairs, which are in blue, with Realty Income and BST. Then SCHD has a variable income, which I put in purple there. Here's the percent yield. Here's the yield on my cost, and my yield on cost, for example, for Fifth Third is higher because I have bought Fifth Third at a lower average price than the current share price. When the inverse is true for like Pepsi, then my yield on cost is going to be lower than the current yield, because look at the price of Pepsi right now is a lot lower than the average share price that I've purchased Pepsi for. But I think Pepsi over time will turn around, and everything on this sheet, it is arranged by the pay date. And right now, if you're wondering what the different colors of green are, I have a color key here, and the dark green, that signifies the last month of each quarter. We are in March, so we are in the dark greens, and this is my high paying month, and every March, June, September, and December, those are my high paying months. So the reason is Most companies that pay a dividend pay it in the last month of the quarter. And we'll take a look at the dividends received so far. You can see, remember those three dividend drips, the Yum, Amgen, and Southern. Those are the last three that have paid. We're going to see their next dividend go up. But the current dividends that have paid out so far in June are $86.10. And what I've done is I've hard coded the dividends for Costco because we're going to see Costco's dividend go up because we bought a fractional share of Costco, as well as Avista. That one's going to go up as well. And then Kimberly-Clark. So we're going to see them go up over here in this column and the next dividend column. We're also going to see the monthly, quarterly, and annual dividends for the entire portfolio go up. We're going to change right over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab some data from M1. We're going to update this sheet and we're going to see those next new dividends. So on the holdings tab, what I do is I grab everything starting from the name column and just grab this data. We're going to do a quick copy here. Just copy. And what all it's doing is it's grabbing the number of shares, the average share price I've paid, and the cost basis. And it's going to transfer it over here to this page automatically. And it's using some VLOOKUPs. And you can see the VLOOKUPs I'm using for the shares, the cost basis, average shares, and cost basis. And when I paste that into the M1 data tab, you can see the shares, cost basis, and average, pay special, values only, and it's going to update only those buys. I think it was 6 buys. We'll go back there, take a look. Yeah, the 3 dividend drips, and then the 3 stocks that were underweighted the most within the dividend portfolio there. So we'll go to the dividend portfolio, and we're going to look at the next new dividends for those 6 positions. And even though Costco pays a tiny dividend, pays 0.5%, it did make a difference there. So we're moving from $3.70 to $3.78, and that's going to be for the next dividend, which will likely be August 17th, right around there. So we can just add 3 months to that. So we're going up there. And then let's look at the dividend drips that we had for Yum Brands, moving from 804 to 808. This is not new money. This is just dripping the dividend back in. Instead of taking it out in cash or putting it somewhere else, we dripped it back into that position to have a bigger dividend the next time around. And of course, these will pay in September. So Amgen, next up, moving from 1621 to 1635. And then Southern Company moving from 772 to 779. And then Avista, this is part of the buys. So this is going to be in September because we're way past the ex-dividend date for Avista, but it's going to move from 28.57 to 28.94. But 28.57 is likely what it's going to pay in June 14th. Then next up is Kimberly-Clark, moving from 13.78 to 13.85. And let's check out and we'll see if, here we'll do this real quick. We'll see if Kimberly-Clark, if we're past the ex-dividend date here real quick. And we'll look that up. And I go to dividendinvestor.com. There's a lot of different sources you can go to, but we'll just check out that ex-dividend date is the 6th. So we did miss it for Kimberly-Clark. So the next one is not going to be that. It's going to be 13.78 likely for Kimberly-Clark. But in 3 months after, in October 3rd, around there, it's going to be at least 13.85. We'll take a look and see. Yeah, we're past the dividend increase month as well. So probably 13.85. That's if I don't buy more fractional shares of Kimberly-Clark. So let's look at the cash flow average and see how that's changed. The monthly is moving up from 1,084.28 to now 1,084.53. And it did move a whole lot because of Costco's where most of the money went to, I believe. And Costco pays that 0.5% dividend. Quarterly is moving from 32.52.83 now to 32.53.60. and then the annual is moving from 13.11.32 to now 13.14.40. So let's take the monthly rate, the 1,084.53, put that onto the monthly average dividend tracking tab. So 1,084.53, we'll put that here. And the event, it moved it up by 25 cents every month going forward. Increase to my dividend income on the 9th today, and the event was a $100 deposit. And then we had the 3 dividend drips. We'll put here, we forgot to type in dividend drips. So I like to put in what the event is and what caused the 25 cents increase to my monthly income. And you can see last one we had was on the 4th, just with a $100 deposit. To move the needle more because of probably buying dividend, paying stocks that pay a higher yield than Costco. So that's what kind of pushed that down. But I don't have a problem with that, because with Costco, though, let's go back on the sheet, see if we can find it. Here they are. Here's Costco. And look at the gain or loss. So I've more than doubled my money with Costco. So this has been more of a grower for me. And look at the last dividend increase with Costco was double digits. It was 12%. And Costco also does special dividends. And look at the last special dividend where Costco paid me. It was a while ago, where it paid me a dividend of $35.69 just in special dividends. So hopefully when Costco pays its next special dividend, it's going to be more like $40 or $50, because I've been adding to this position ever since. So we'll see about that. So let's go on over to the dividend tracker tab. And I've been doing these videos since January 2021. We saw earlier where I started this dividend portfolio in 2017, but I didn't really start adding to it and chronicling the dividend portfolio since January 2021. You can see the portfolio value then was $18,700. And then let's get to where we're at right now. We're at the $285,200. And I round that to the nearest $100. And then at the end of every month, I put that amount, I hard code it, so we can see where we finished at the end of that month. And I believe we're at all-time highs. I believe this is the high point of the portfolio at the end of the month. So we'll see, though, where we end, though, in June. We could go back in 270s quite quickly, so we just don't know where we're going to end up. Here's the dividends paid again, $86.10. Here is the average monthly dividend. You can see how that's gone up and up and up. To me, it's like a monthly paycheck. And just in the month of June, we've added to those monthly dividends by $2.62 for a month-over-month gain of 0.24%. Here's the annual dividends again, the $13,014.40. And then we've increased the annual dividends in the month of June by $31.48. We're going to add another $100 there, so we're up to $300 in deposits. You can see just over the last probably almost 2 years, we really haven't kicked in too much, with the exception of where in April we had all the tariff talk, and I was putting in like $1,000 buys there, and I did several of those. I did like 4 or 5 of those, and that's what kicked it up to the 5,700. It would have been under 1,000 if it weren't for that. And I think here, I'm not sure, I just had some extra money to deploy. Looks like an extra $1,000, and same here back in August 2023. So really haven't been doing much, but you can see the portfolio value, how it was below $200,000, and now we're getting close to that $300,000. So had some really good growth over the past couple of years, but we'll see where that goes to. Over the long term, I see this portfolio probably averaging like what the S&P is doing, right around there, 8 to 10% over. It's average. It's not going to be a 10% every single year. We'll see some dips and we'll see some gains over that time. So to close out this video, we're going to go to the total net worth statement for me. And like I said, the dividend portfolio, that's about 15% of my total net worth. We'll go back to that. And again, I'll leave a link below so you can see what's all in this portfolio. Of course, what I'm investing in is not investment advice. I'm just showing you guys, the blueprint of building a dividend portfolio. But I have a strong base of ETFs out there in, like VYM, VTI, VXUS, VU, all these, Vanguard ETFs out here. And over at Vanguard, with my IRA and my taxable brokerage account, that right now is totaling 487K. Here's my current employer 401K. It's all in S&P 500. It's a Fidelity S&P 500 fund. Right now it's at 106,000. And that's my employment pretty much from March 2020 to present. And then here's my prior employment 401ks pretty much over here. And this is over at M1 in IRA and VU, VTI, SCHD, BST at 712K. Here's the dividend portfolio that we went into at length. And here's kind of my ammunition I keep over at M1, getting 4%, and that's going to be deployed likely into this portfolio. Here's my 1-year emergency fund over in Synchrony. They just had some bad news. They dropped their interest rate to 3.8%, and that kind of made me a little bit mad. I was thinking I'm just going to put the 50,000 over to M1, but of course, the minute I do that, M1's going to probably drop it to 3.6. So I'm just going to leave it there because Synchrony's been really good about being really competitive, and of course, once that money's en route, I'll have, like 3 days of it in limbo, not gaining interest. And of course, I bet you, M1 will probably just drop it down to 3.8 anyway. So I'm not going to play that game. Just going to leave it there unless, Synchrony drops it to 3.6 or something like that. And then M1's at still at 4%. So we'll see there. Then Capital One, this is like my 2-month kind of buffer I leave over there at 3.6%. You can see that. And U.S. Bank, a tiny bit of a buffer out there. I just use them for, I have a U.S. Bank card there that I opened to get the $250 bonus, which I did receive from U.S. Bank. But they have kind of special categories, and one of them is they have like 3% cash back. I shop at Costco and using U.S. Bank, and then they have 6% for Amazon. So I'm going to probably keep that card and just do my Amazon purchasing and Costco purchasing because it has a higher reward than my FMBO Evergreen card, which is 2% for everything. So I do most of my purchasing on this card. We can see what the balances are right there, but I pay those off in full before they're due, so I do not accrue any interest. Here is my only debt is in this mortgage that I'm trying to, of course, pay down more aggressively than the minimum payments. Look at my net worth, at least for now, it's over the 1.8 mark. It hasn't quite recovered. We're a little bit lower than all-time highs. We'll go and see, right, was it 1.81? No, 1.827 was the high point in November. So we're not quite there for the total net worth. And part of that is the car. If I hadn't purchased the Mustang, we probably would have been at close to the all-time highs. But trust me, I'm going to be at all-time new highs regardless of that purchase. It's going to be 1.92 million before we know it. I think, especially if the tariff issues, we get some wins there as a country, or who knows what happens there. But I think long term, it's going to be a positive net effect for the country, and my net worth is going to go to 2 mil here. We'll see, though, when it's going to happen. Here's the breakdown. If you're curious, in stocks, home equity, cash, pre-tax, after-tax, and U.S. and international. So that wraps up the video. We'll go to the actual buys. So $100 went to Avista, Kimberly-Clark, Avista, Costco, and Kimberly-Clark. The Yum, Amgen, and Southern, those were dividend drifts. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are going to be buying for this week. So thanks for sticking to the end of the video. If you got value from the video, please click the like button. Also subscribe to this channel. The next video will hopefully be my May expenses. What I do is I go over my expenses and income and net worth in detail, and you'll see, what those are for average Joe. I think it's really important to track your expenses and make sure you have a gap, and of course, invest that gap. And I show like the multiple ways I'm earning income. It's not just from the dividends in my W-2. I do, a couple other things as well. But thanks again, everyone, for sticking to the end of the video. I hope everyone has a great week. Everyone, take care.